think right now this section may be more may be more interesting because compared to that, we have discussed some more practical problem you will face in the farm. So before this event, actually we already collect some of the questions from you, and then we will have a discussion during this session. And of course, if you have further questions, feel free to write your questions on the paper and send to us. Okay, so let's go to the first questions, and you can see the questions on the screen. So, what are the most common mistakes like many farms make regarding breeding management? So, I think maybe we can start these questions for Antonio. In your opinion, what's the most mistake you have seen in the farm?
Every day, the most mistake that I can find in the farm is in relation with gilts and in relation with the heat detection. Of course, there are other important issues, like for instance the nutrition, because of the people forget how important it is to give a good nutrition during the lactation phase. But if you tell me about the most important problem, is about how difficult it is for the most of the people to have a good implementation of the gilts in relation with the sanitary problems and in relation with the reproductive problems. And also we forget how important it is to work with the boars. I can find many farms that they don't have a good TC boards, and the TC board is our principal tool in relation with reproduction.
Yeah, so from Antonio's opinion, I think normally in Asia we need to put the most experienced staff in the south, like a farming unit or like gestation, because if less training people are here, somehow we can find more problem on the reproductive. So how about Joaquin, your opinion on this?
Coming back to the question, I think that it's to think that it's an easy task, and well, the reproduction takes a lot of time to change when you have poor results, because sometimes it's caused a low performance of farrowing rate or fertility because of multiple factors. So we need to first to try to identify these factors, if it's nutrition, if it's the gilt acclimatization. So this is the first point.
And I think it's a very good comment from Joaquin. And also, if we just recall the memory from the presentation from Antonio, actually in Europe, they are creating a lot of productive parameter, the data. They are recording the data. But the reality in Asia, I think not too much farm can generate this kind of data. But without this data support, somehow we cannot identify the really problems is in your farm. Okay, let's go to the second question. If a farm wants to improve breeding performance, what is the first things to check on their farm? So how about your opinion?
In my opinion, it's difficult, as always happens in reproduction, that every piece of the path of the puzzle is important. But if I have to choose one of them, by my personal opinion, to have a good stimulation is the key. And if you want to have a good stimulation, you need a good TC boards. Again, TC boards is the mainly tool that you have in your farm. And take time to do this is very, very important. It's not only a question of the estrus, is also important the stimulation for the estrus, especially in some seasons of the year.
So I think for instance the example from Antonio, he mentioned that to have a TC board, I think it's to have a constant stimulation to the south, to the gilt, to have really enter to complete or mature estrusized condition. I think it's very important. So what's your opinion?
Yeah, I think that it's also very important to review the body condition at the weaning for the sows, because finally, if the sow is in a catabolic status, losing energy, the message that we are sending to the reproductive axis is the sow is that no, you don't need to ovulate because you are not going to have energy to get pregnant and to reach a high number of piglets. So it's also very important to review the body condition at the weaning, and for that, consequently, during the feeding, during the lactation.
Okay, then let's move to the third questions. Okay, the third question is in the situation of Korea, high post-weaning mortality is the major problem that induce the poor productivity. What measures will be helpful in the pregnancy and the lactation period of sows?
Well, first, during what we can do during the pregnancy, I think that it is related with the piglet vitality at the moment of the farrow. First, we need heavier piglets to if we want to work in obtain heavy piglets at the moment of the farrowing. We need to put the focus on the first stage of the gestation until the day 35, because it's when it's going to create the placenta. So we need to assure that the vascularization and the quality of the placenta is going to be good in order to then provide with enough nutrients to develop all the embryos. And then also at the end of the gestation, where we can modify the vitality of the piglets with different strategies of feeding.
Okay, so what's your opinion on this?
Yeah, in my opinion, on the same, more or less on the same line. For us, it's very, very important to control the variability of the weight of the piglets just in the moment of the wean. And this is a very, very important challenge because of the things are changing a little bit in Spain, but nowadays many farms we are weaned around 14, 13 piglets per sow. We have 19 piglets live born, and this is a completely challenge in the handles of the farrowings, because of one thing that we don't want is to have variability. But what happened that we have 25% of the piglets just in the moment of the farrowing of the weaning with less than 5 kilograms. So in that point, if you have this situation, control the mortality after the wean, especially with a leadership problem, is very difficult. This is by one hand, and by the other hand, Alex was talking about the colostrum. You have to consider that we don't have more than 3.5 kilograms of colostrum in every sow, and you have to give at least 200 grams of colostrum per piglet. So in this situation with 19 piglets per sow, it's impossible to have a good quality of immunity in our piglets. So this is the first challenge, how to improve the colostrum in the piglets, and the second is how to improve the weight of the piglets, but not on average, is how to improve the variability of our piglets. And this is a big problem, is that the companies are considered, because it costs us many money, at the point that in many companies are come back and they prefer not to have so many piglets.
In my opinion, with the high post-weaning mortality, I think first time, every time I will firstly to identify the reason, because it's come from the previous stage, or it's just a single factor to make this high mortality after the weaning. And of course, we also need to consider some direct factor or indirect factor. So in the case like Joaquin showing you the data from the Chulalongkorn University, they analyze for instance, like complete parvo vaccination program versus partial parvo vaccination program. Actually, from this post publication, they also have a some, I think, very, very interesting data not showing on the publication, because they also calculate, analyze, the weaning numbers per liter from this research, from this study. So from this study, actually, they are showing the complete parvo vaccination program. Okay, they can get 2 more wean pig per liter versus partial parvo vaccination. But of course, we can say, wow, the parvo is not the right impact to the weaning. But we need to think maybe it's indirect, and also help the farrowing pig, the suckling pig, their healthy condition better. Then of course, if we wean in a good body weight, for sure the survival rate after weaning will become higher. Okay, let's move to the fourth question. The fourth question is how to improve the prevalence that may occur after changing to hyperprolific sows, for instance, like increasing suckling mortality rate or lack of space.
Well, I think that more or less we have reviewed some of the important points. It's how to obtain vital piglets at the moment of the farrowing, how to manage these small piglets, and how to manage the big number of piglets. So one point that we have not speak about is the nursing sows, to move these sows that are finishing the lactation to the first stage of the farrow, in order to put the excess of these 19 piglets that these hyperprolific sows can give us. So we can randomize the number of piglets in the farrowing area with the maximum number of teats that the sows has.
Okay, so what's your opinion?
Yeah, in my opinion, our experience with this kind of farms with a high level of production, there is one thing that you need is the compromise of the people who are working in there. Because of when you have in the farrowings a lot of piglets, the people first have to be well trained, and second, every day they have to be more than 80% concentrated in the work, because it's very important to do the things as soon as possible. And sometimes happens that it's not easy to find people who have this level of compromise. And again, I repeat, at least in our country, sometimes the people prefer not to produce with this hyperprolific because of we have problems to find people who with this level of compromise.
Yeah, I think this question is very interesting, because somehow we need to combat the reality, especially in the Northeast Asia, because as we know, cost of the stuff is very high, right? And somehow we have a difficulty to find enough human resource in our farm. So if we don't have enough manpower, and how to support this the hyperprolific sows, because we will have more piglet, but we don't have enough manpower to take care of all the pig. Yeah, I think Antonio has one comment.
Yeah, in relation with that, with the lack of space, specifically in farms with high prolific sows and with a high level of production, you have to consider that it's very difficult that one single sow are able to wean more than 12 and a half piglets. This is our level of wean. So the other 1.5 piglets must be weaned by other ways. In our case, we are working a lot with artificial lactation, and basically we take piglets from 15 days of life, and we remove these piglets from 1, 2, or 3 sows in every batch, and we move these piglets to this artificial machine that is like a sow of the batch who allows feed 50 piglets. And in these spaces that you have in this particular sows, we move or we remove the other piglets that we have more. And this is one of the solutions up to today that we cannot use zinc oxide in our feeds, and the things change completely. So nowadays is totally crazy.
Okay. In relation to animal welfare policy, what are the main problems in South when switching to a free cage system? Okay. So maybe because it's not happened in Asia, but I just imagine if it's really happened in Asia, what we will face. Firstly, I think for the workers who work for the South group, I think they will take more time than before because they need to pay attention. Some treatment or some operation will be much longer because we need to avoid to scaring these cells because they know they have a space to run. Okay, so then they were more sensitive to the workers, especially when we apply the vaccination. But if the workers are just hurry and they just followed by the cells are running, okay, it brings more stress to the cells. So avoid this situation, for sure, the staff in this unit should be more patient and move slowly, and it also means it will take more time for the labor in this unit. So with this change, I can also understand why in intradermal, the needleless vaccination route right now is more and more popular in Europe.
Well, and regarding, for example, in Europe, it was mandatory to have the group gestation since 2013, but some farms started before, but mandatory at that time. And the answer is that we can produce as well as with the sows in cages, but it takes time and it's frustrating for the workers because finally we are going to mix sows of different size, of different parities. So the first point is to adapt well the area where we are going to put the sows in groups, and especially thinking on to prepare places where the smaller sows can be protected for the more hierarchy sows, and also to think in feeding systems that are going to assure that we are going to provide enough feed to every sow.
The cages in Europe is one of the mainly challenges that we are going to have in the next year because of there are many countries like Denmark, Holland, Germany, that they have a politics to remove all the cages in the farms, include all period of gestation and include all period of farrowing. So we are trying to understand how the behavior of the animals under this condition. But at the end of the day, you have to look for system who gives you information in one hand, and in the other hand, look the system no competitive for the animals. If you have competition between the animals, for sure you are going to have a losing. For instance, at the beginning in Spain, the people think that okay, I am going to put the feed on the floor, and it's a very cheaper and it not cost me any money. But this kind of system don't allow you to know how many kilograms of feed are eating every of these single sows. This is one point, and the other point is that you are going to generate a big stress in this group, and for sure you are going to lose pregnant animals. So the best option is to put in a system who gives you information, and this is the electronic systems gives you all the information that you need. And this is important not only gestation. The new farms put these systems in the lactation. The lactation is a period who is very important to control how many kilograms of feed are eating the sow per day. But talking again about the gestation, if you are able to choose one system that is not is not a stress for the animals. They don't have competition, and at the same time gives you information. This is the best solution. And in relation with the farrowings, many groups are studying what is the best way to not use crates during the farrowings. And something that we have now, something clear is that we need more space. Basically, we are using now 5.5, between 5.5 6 meters square. This is now, but without the crates, we have to increase to 7.5 meters per square per sow. So the cost of this is 600 for the normal situation with crates, 1,000 euros for farrowing free. And most important than this, I am very, very worried about the workers because of we don't know how is the behavior of a big animal like a sow with litters inside. Imagine that you have to take one of these litters because of you have a case of meningitis and you have the free animal in a very small space, and it's not easy for the workers to do that. But the politicians are the people who are giving us these lives don't think in the people.
Welfare for the animals, but not for the workers.
We have two questions from audience. Find a heat in the farrowing unit. Do you know what is the main cause of this one?
Yeah, the most important point here is the season. The season in spring, it's more probably that you are going to have these kind of problems, and this is in relationship with two things. The first thing is that you lose the suckling stimulation, and for instance, if in concrete litters that you have a diarrhea and you have a quick the animals and they don't suckling milk, and the process of the estrus begins. This is one of the reasons, and the other one is when the sow takes body condition. So this is in relation with the principal risk factors are the season, the age of the sow, who is the capacity of the animal to eat. So the solution is very easy, especially when we are working in farms with 28 days of lactation. Usually appears this estrus at the end of the 4 week, and you only have to give less feed, for instance 1 kilogram less per day, and the problem disappear, and talk with the nutritionist to regulate the level of energy of the feed.
Yeah. These sows that are in the farrowing unit, like in holidays, a small litter with low number of piglets, but eating a lot, very comfortable, so the sow getting into estrus. Also, another reason about the diarrhea can be if you apply a very reactive vaccine to the piglets around day 21, and the same, the sow is going to keep eating the feed, but the piglets are going to have an adverse reaction and are not going to suckling. So the energetic balance of the sow is going to increase. So we are sending again the message to the sow for the ovulation.
Another question is related to swine erysipelas. Do you explain the economic impact of the chronic form of swine erysipelas?
Actually, I just talked the situation in Asia because it's unlike in Europe. Most of the pig they are vaccinated, or sows they are vaccinated erysipelas. But in case in Asia, most of the common situation we have seen, if you have applied the vaccine, no matter what is the kill vaccine or live vaccine. But in the end, if the vaccine is only provide partial protection, so we can easily find the proliferative endocarditis in the slaughterhouse. This is I think very common situation I experienced before in Taiwan.
We have time to the end, so say bye to our audience.
Okay. Thank you very much. We had very we are very proud to having shared this time with you and to discuss about different topics in relation to the reproduction, and it has been a pleasure to be with you.
Okay, so it's always happy for me to be here because not only share the experience from other Asia country, but I also learn a lot from you. 감사합니다.